All right, howdy folks. Welcome back to Top Comics Pressing. In this video, what we're going to do is take a look at a pretty extraordinary copy here of Batman number 251. For those of you that don't know, this is one of the epic Neil Adams Batman covers from the early 70s. Neil Adams took over the art for that run and has some of the most fantastic artwork of the era, and featured in the Batman run. This one is exceptionally popular, not only because it is a Joker cover, but it's also considered to be kind of the modern rebirth of the Joker, where he gets a little bit more sinister and a little bit more criminal and kind of moves away from the slapstick Joker of the 60s. And it features some of the best writing, I think, in the business from Denny O'Neil. So Denny O'Neil, I think, is one of the probably best Batman writers of all time. And you really can't get better than the combination of Denny O'Neil's work as the writer and Neil Adams' art, particularly on this epic cover where Joker is just, you know, reaching over Gotham with the Batman in a card. This is probably one of the most Golden Age covers, or Golden Age era inspired covers that you'll see, where the characters are just wildly disproportionate to the surroundings around them and the sense of scale is blown up and distorted. And so, you know, this one's a true classic, and it is a favorite in this issue also because this one happens to be a Mark Jewelers insert. So this one is currently graded as a CBCS 7.0 with off-white to white pages. And, you know, I advise the owner of this book that I'm not so sure how much of a bumpski we'll be able to get. And the reason for that is I think that there's some light creasing that's going to prevent it. So this corner has a very light crease there. You can see where it kind of starts down here. And I don't think it bisects that whole area, but it's definitely some corner creasing. There's a corner crease right there. And I think probably the bigger concern for a grade bump is you can see not only are there horizontal spine ticks coming in, but if you look really carefully in this area, I think that there is some vertical creasing as well. And CGC likes to slam that vertical creasing. That happened when somebody opened it and kind of rolled the front cover over the back of the book. And so that is kind of loosely referred to as a reader's crease, where you have a vertical crease, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch off the spine of the book. So I think the little bit of reader crease here that we're picking up right kind of below the Joker's shoulder is probably going to limit us from getting any kind of, you know, sizable grade bump. If we flip it on over and look, though, you can see that there is a lot of light foxing in here, and this should in principle be clearable up with our hydrogen peroxide and blue LEDs. And so I think at least, you know, even if we can't give this comic book a grade bump, we can certainly give it a facelift. And you can see in here there's probably a pretty good indication that this was not dry cleaned. And so hopefully we'll be able to make some of this cream dinge. Now these should be yellow, so we're gonna look to keep them that way, but certainly some of the cream here in this Batman card we'll hopefully be able to clean on up. So with that being said, and kind of evaluated and knowing that we're kind of looking for an eye appeal bump here instead of a true grade bumpski, what we're gonna do is just try to crack this case. And if you don't know, the CBCS slabs have these little embedded grooves here on the bottom, and that's to be able to get kind of a flathead screwdriver in there to be able to do that initial crack. And there we go. So that's really what we're looking for. And let's see if we can, you know, just kind of complete this around the edge. Go. Just cleared the corner. And as always, I like to just take my kind of flathead down that seam and just kind of give it a gentle turn out. There we go. I do find the CBCS slabs much more tedious to crack than the CGC ones, and this is ultimately what we do not want to see, is that splintering or splitting into the slabs. Let's try to go to the other side there. There we go. Down that glue. Yep. And that should be enough to let us get that inner well out. Nope, I'm gonna be stuck. I'm gonna have to keep going. Definitely don't want to put any pressure on the inner comic or the inner well. Definitely what we're trying to avoid. So I'm just gonna keep going there. CBCS slabs are definitely more stubborn to cracking than the CGC ones are. pretty sure they're designed that way. Go. Let's see if we can get this to give now. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Just pull on that one out. So there we go. We'll go ahead and get some slicing going on here. And it looks like we got a nice big gap right across the top here, so that's where we're going to take our razor blade. Just give it a little bit of a tap down, make sure you get as much clearance as possible. And then this is always the nerve-wracking part. Go. Grab my scissors. Again, we're just going to take those scissors, open up some space in there. And then I don't have my gloves on, so we'll get those on before we start touching the comic book. And then we're going to get some pictures of this comic under the nice light, and then we'll come on back and do some dry cleaning. So let me just get this on out here. Slide it right on out. See if we can check for this marked jewelers and see how we did on the evaluation there. So yeah, I think that this is going to be our major creasing there that might prevent a bump. Overall though, it looks pretty nice. A few pressable defects on the front. And there we go. It's the all famous, all important marked jeweler insert, nice in there. I think the off-white to white pages is pretty accurate. And you can just really enjoy some of that Denny O'Neil art. The 5-way revenge, or Joker's 5-way revenge. You just get it right on that maniacal laughing right on page 1. It's pretty epic. Gotta love it. So there we go. All right, let's get some pictures and let's get this one ready to get dry cleaned. All right, folks, here we are back with this copy of Batman number 251 with marked jeweler insert. And we're just gonna start our standard dry cleaning right here, kind of on the front, right by the Batman. And I'm just gonna give this a very light polish with the eraser. I didn't see a ton of, deep grime on here, and I don't see a reason to scrub it too hard, but we'll just give it a good surface wipe with the click eraser. The back definitely has a lot more grime. Most of what's up here is really light foxing. Or ink, which is where it should, or ink not where it should be. It's definitely a light blue Batman cape ink in some spots. So I think that's about it for the front. We could think about looking at the Joker's face. I don't see anything. I don't see a reason to start going in the, Batman man space over there. Some really light foxing on the Gia Gotham, but nothing that's going to be stand out. The back here, on the other hand, I think is going to use a lot more cleaning. So we're just going to start on the top edge and give it our best shot here. Again, I'm using my left hand with my fingers splayed to put support on the comic book to make sure I don't get any shifting while I'm doing this erasing on the back edge here. Now this I couldn't tell if it was a tear or a crease. I think it's actually just a crease, so I think we're okay there. Definitely if it was a tear, you don't want to dry clean around it. Accidentally catch the edge and make the tear a lot bigger. That would be very, very sad. But in this case, I think it was just a crease lifted up. I think we can dry clean right on over it. Get closer to those corners, we'll slow down, and we'll grab our Mr. Clean Magic Eraser sheet here. And while we're at it, let's just do all 4 corners there. Again, I'm just stroking towards the corner. I'm just going to slide it right off the edge. I find that to be a little bit safer than taking the eraser bit. And this open edge is wanting to curl, so we're just going to take our backer board there underneath it. Make sure we don't crease the paper any more than we have to. Just give it a little bit of a light clean there. Clean that on down. There we go. So it should be good around the corners. Go back to where we're up top here. Lots of sludge. This definitely smells like basement. I was at a local comic shop and one of the employees was, I was heckling him a little bit, and he said, I know it's always fun to play the game basement or attic, because those are the two places comics are usually stored, and typically they smell like one of the two of them. And if they're baked on the inside, it's typically attic. If they smell stinky or musty or dank, this one's got a little bit of an odor. Not horrible, but much better indicator or chance basement in that instance. And these staples do have some rust. I don't want to polish them too much, but I'm gonna hit them here with just a little bit of a light erase to try to knock as much rust off as I can. I'm not trying to hide the fact that they're tarnished as much as I am trying to just make the rust look a little bit less severe than it is. So you want it to be kind of light rusting instead of modest to severe rusting. You also want to be very careful around the paper. Sometimes I'll grab my micro eraser for that, but you can see there's little specks of red on that eraser, so it is doing its thing. Yeah, and that's still going to look rusted, but not as severely, so that's what we're going for. Already did the corners, which is good. Putting this board under there just to make sure that that open edge is supported. I think that's about it. Now normally I might do a little bit of Ouija board cleaning on the full surface of the comic book, but this particular ink from the very early 70s and the cover material is not a great candidate for it. So I'm actually just going to not clean that out. It's a lot easier, a lot better idea with Silver Age, and anything mid-70s or later is also okay, but those few years between about 71 to 74. Tend to leave those. Shaking my cloth off here, off camera. Just gonna give this a little bit of a wipe down. Go. All right, and this one's gonna be ready for some blue LED treatment. So on this comic now with the modest to heavy foxing on the back here, I'm gonna use the 1.5% hydrogen peroxide to try to keep it from over whitening the paper. And I'm probably gonna end up doing 4 treatments of the overlay to try to adjust for that. And if I'm feeling rolled, then I might do 2 to 3 interior treatments. But because that page quality is pretty distinctly yellowed there, we're not gonna wanna push the comic to be too white. in there. So, you know, we're going to try to keep it modest. You can see that there is foxing on the interior cover as well. So we're going to end up treating both the front and the back, and the interior front and the interior back. And I think we're going to do 4, 4, 3, 3. So that's going to be about 14 total treatments. So that's going to be, you know, a lot of work on this book. But stay tuned. We'll touch back when that's all done. All right, check it on out, everybody. Here is the Crown Prince of Crime, the Joker himself, hanging out on the very now bright and beautiful copy of the Batman number 251 here. Very classic Neil Adams. It looks gorgeous coming out of the light box. So, and you know, it might look a little too white to you on the camera, but what I'm going to do here is just put it over a sheet of paper, and you can definitely see it is clearly still several shades yellowed relative to that super bleached sheet of paper, so I think that's important. You can see that on the back. You know, we did get out a lot of that foxing, especially up here where that foxing was really intense. You know, we didn't actually get it all, so we got a good amount of it. That crease was there, so we're good with that. And if you open it on up, you know, you still see a little bit of light foxing, and I think that's ultimately going to be okay. Nothing too crazy there to keep your, you know, to draw your attention to. Very nice, much sharper looking copy. Definitely looks a lot better from arm's length, so it's one that would be nice to add to anybody's collection. We're going to give this a press here. This is going to be a standard press, so we're going to cook it at 155 degrees. I'm going to put a magazine backer board in here and the Mark Jewelers right next to where those staples are. This Mark Jewelers does not have the glue strip, and so we don't have to do anything special for this one. We're just going to let it chill as is. 65-pound sheet of cardstock under both the front and the back cover, and a 15-minute loving squeeze. So that'll be what's in store for this one. All right, here's our final look at this copy of Batman 251 before we send it off to CGC. It was a previous CBCS 7. It looks fantastic from arm's length, I would say. I think, unfortunately, the grade limiting defects here is going to be these spine lines, particularly the horizontal one right in there, as well as some of the very light corner creasing that I called out while this was still in a slab. But regardless, for a very rare Mark Jewelers insert copy of an incredibly popular Batman comic, and rightfully so, with the art of Neil Adams and the art of Denny O'Neil. This one's going to be up there, and so it's a very exciting book. Very happy to be able to have this one. We'll keep our fingers crossed here for CGC. What I'm going to do now is slide this one on in the larger outer backer board, and that way this thing can be protected for shipping and on its way to CGC. I'll just get a little bit more tape here. Oh, my tape roll's stuck. You don't need to watch me tape it down. We'll just tape the flap down here off camera. Other than that, keep your fingers crossed while this thing's in Florida. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll have the conclusion back here in what appears to you to be only a few seconds. Take it easy. Well, folks, I know this is the part of the video where you're used to me showing you what the grade from CGC came back as. This was actually one of the original videos I recorded all the way back in November or December, January 2022, when the channel was just getting launched and getting going. I never heard back on this one, so I messaged the owner maybe 6 or 9 months later, and they said they had never sent it to CGC at that point, and we're probably just going to keep it raw. And then I messaged back a few months later, and then I forgot about the videos, and when I was cleaning out all of my video here to make space on my hard drive, I stumbled back across this one. It looked really awesome at the time, and so I figured, what the heck, this is the same procedure and process I use for most books like this of the era, and I've seen some really insane bumps coming back from CGC with that same procedure, and so I figured, what the heck, I'd just post the video anyway. I should have before and after pictures of the comic book on YouTube, on Instagram and Facebook, so feel free to check that out. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, even though there's no CGC reveal on the end of this one, so I do apologize for that, but take care, and of course keep on collecting what you enjoy.